go up to a prompt and you're like, "Hey, ChatGPT, I don't know what I want. Maybe you'll show me." Like that. That's not going to be helpful.
Good luck.
Good luck. All right. Well, it's another episode of the Sixth Street podcast. Got Jonathan Keel here and Noe Tamez. Noe,
Here.
how was your week this week? Anything? Is it good work for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think if there was anything out of the ordinary. There wasn't because I had a plumbing issue last week. I tried to repair that myself. I got really sore, so I didn't really do anything on the weekend and recouped, and I just had a normal work week. But how about you, Jonathan? I think you did something a little different this week.
Yeah. My youngest son, he's he'll be starting his senior year in high school. 2 weeks from now, and or I guess 1 week from now, and so he's been looking at colleges, and he already went to check out University of Texas Austin. But this week, on Wednesday, we went to Texas A&M University
Hmm.
to do a little campus tour. So that was fun. Being that you and I went there, we actually uh,
Yep.
roomed together. That brought back memories. Yeah, I went over to see if the dorm we lived in was still there. I had a feeling it would be torn down because it was like, I don't know, built in like, I don't know, 1928 or something. Or I don't remember.
Something like that.
And
And you
yeah,
say lived in, but don't you mean we roasted in it?
yeah, we were like roasted rotisserie chickens in there or something. Yeah, because for the viewers, we were freshmen, and no, and I were freshmen in college. We roomed together, and the dorm, it was pretty cheap. I don't remember exactly how much it was. I think it was like either $400 a semester or $400 a year. I don't know, it was something really cheap.
Yeah.
And once we got there, we quickly figured out why it was so cheap.
Yeah.
Why was it so cheap, Noe? What was the main thing that was different about that dorm?
There was zero air conditioning. No air conditioning at all allowed in there.
Yeah, it was so hot. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I think we both knew, right, that there's no air conditioning, but you
Yeah.
know, how hot could it get, right? In the Texas heat in summer.
Yeah. In central Texas, it got pretty hot. I remember that first night. I think you brought a fan. I
Mhm.
did not have a fan. And if I got 15 minutes of sleep that night
Mhm.
roasting, that was 15 minutes I didn't expect to get because it was so hot in
Yeah,
there.
it was crazy. And what was worse is that the dorm was shaped like I guess like the letter C or like a U, and there was another dorm that was on the open end of that, C or U, and it sort of blocked any wind coming in because we were on the inside of that little courtyard. So the
Hmm.
wind, people that were in the dorm and they could open up their windows if they're on the outside, but we were in the corner of the inside. So there's literally like no wind. Plus, like other people, I think they had like two or four windows. I don't know on the
Yeah.
outside. We had one little
Yeah.
window with no air coming through. It was terrible.
Yeah. And that was the first time where I had an experience that I would classify as this is a character building experience here. I had it pretty easy going, school, high school, all that, and didn't really have too many things I had to kind of put a mindset to overcome. And I was like, yep, I'm gonna have to do that here. It's
It's
freaking hot.
it's definitely character building. Yes, I had a fun time going there with my son, and then like I of course was pointing at things. Oh, like this is still the same, and this is where we stayed, and look how it's there's no way to get air in there and everything else. So yeah, he seemed pretty happy that that wasn't the case anymore. If he was to go there at Texas A&M, like everything seems to be more modernized now. I mean, our dorm, that dorm is still there. It looked like they were like fixing it up on the inside.
Mm,
Um, I'm assuming they're gonna put air conditioning there. So I don't know.
yeah. So did your son like A&M, or like did he have any impressions
Yeah.
of it?
Well, he wants to study mechanical engineering
Okay.
as his major. He liked it. I mean, he said he likes both, universities so far. That the Texas, University of Texas Austin and Texas A&M. You know, there's pros and cons. He said, the Texas A&M, the good thing, there's a lot of space. I don't know if you remember, but like if you go on the campus of UT Austin, everything's really condensed because it's like in
Mm,
the city. But
hmm
A&M, it's very spread out. You get this sense of like, I don't know, it's just a lot of space. So you don't feel like you're just crammed in. The buildings have not some space between them. There's lots of area to just, I guess, hang out. He also liked that there's a lot of traditions.
mm,
He got to do like a Texas A&M yell. Like the yell leaders. They had the guide was guide us through how you do the yells and everything. So yeah, and talked about a bunch of traditions like the 12th man and all that type of stuff. So he liked that part. Yeah. So I mean, he's not sure what he's going to do, and I'm not sure which way I want to push him either. So
yeah, yeah. I don't think it can go wrong either way. I mean, I'm sure, obviously people that actually graduate from there won't think that, but they're both good universities, and I'm sure the thing I take away about college is like the people and the experiences that I had there. So I'm sure either way he'll meet some great people.
yeah, it's always a debate here. I have 4 kids, and he's the youngest, or not, he's not the youngest. He's the youngest son. He's like I guess number 3. I have a one younger daughter, a little younger than him. But there's always a question of like, what's it going to be like in the future? You know, um, should they go to college? Should they not go to college? Stuff like that. Well, one of the things, you know, with my kids, and we talk a lot here, is about the future and preparing for the future. And yeah, so my son said he wanted to go into mechanical engineering. I think that's probably a safe bet for the future. I think maybe. Um, but I was just thinking, Noe and I, we did like a computer science types of degrees in school, and that was sort of the thing at the time. Like, if you're doing computers, that's the future, and there's probably gonna be a lot of jobs. There's a lot of growth. I mean, we kind of graduated in the 2000-ish, early 2000 time frame. So even though it was like the dot-com bust was around, there was still a good time to go into computers. But I don't know, Noe, like, what would you think if some of our viewers, if they're planning on going to college, um, I wonder what they would do. I mean, if you're planning on going to college right now, Noe, like, would you still major in computer science?
Yeah, it's a good question, with all the headlines about AI and taking knowledge work away, or maybe, helping to augment that a bit. Um, I think back to when we graduated, I think there was a couple of obstacles when we graduated, which was like the dot-com, bubble that burst, which you mentioned. It was
Mm-hmm.
also around the time where, offshoring and nearshoring, that was starting to become a thing as well. And I remember I had some concerns. I was like, wow, did I pick the right career? Is this going to work or not? Because at the time, especially at the very beginning, right, it was a lot of articles about, oh, we can, it's computers. You can work anywhere, anywhere in the world. It doesn't have to be here in the United States. It can be any country that has the knowledge and the expertise. And I guess I'm glad I didn't make my decision based off of those headlines and all that, even though it's still a bit of leap of faith. And even though, yeah, I'll admit there's a ton of articles and a lot of discussion about, do we need developers, and, do we need this and that? I I think I would still get that degree, because in all honesty, when I picked this degree, I remember I was trying to figure out, because I entered college, I thought I wanted to be a chemical engineer. That didn't work out, and I was trying to figure like, what do I want to do? And I ended up just picking what I was passionate about because I was always working on computers on my own, just kind of tinkering around with it. And I was like, well, I like doing it. I spend my free time doing it. Why not concentrate on that? And I think I would still do it. It may be a gamble because, you know,
Hmm.
no one really knows the future, but I think I would still go that route. What about you?
That's interesting. Well, I'm really not too sure. I just, well, I'll say there's this article that sort of spurred this conversation from the Atlantic. It's called, the computer science bubble is bursting, and we'll probably get some details about it. But it's sort of references how some of the computer science majors, not like doesn't always have to be just pure computer science. There's a lot of computer science related majors that like less and less people are enrolling, mainly because there's kind of fear about AI. And I do remember, I don't know, a few years ago, a lot of people saying, well, you never have to worry about programmers getting replaced because there's a lot of things that can be automated, but programming is pretty tough to be a good programmer. And so that's something you don't have to worry about. But when ChatGPT and all these other LMs started showing that they could do programming just by a prompt, I was a little worried. So far, I would still say I would agree. Like I think if you're passionate about computer science, like computers or computer science, I would go into it. I don't think the jobs are going to go away completely. I think they'll probably just change a little bit. Um, if I think if you're like your heart's not into it, I don't know if I would go into it. I wouldn't go
Mm,
into it for the money. Like
mm,
I didn't. I feel like when I was younger, I went to computers because I just thought they were cool, and I actually didn't know like how the future would turn out. Like that Google would come around and all these other companies would be making all this money. I figured it'd be okay, but I didn't really get into it for the money. I think a lot of people were starting to get into it because it's like, oh, I'll make a lot of money, so I'll go into
mm.
computers. I don't know if that'll be exactly the case. I think you could still have a lot of money in computer science, but I just think you have to be passionate mainly because not because of the money, but because um, you'll have to figure out how to I don't know, roll out the punches and use AI to your advantage. Like I think to go a little further, I think like even here at Sixth Street, a lot of our developers, probably all of them, architects, they are using like Copilot, for example, and other tools to speed up, the development. I think if you're just out of college and you're trying to compete, it's a little tough, right? Because usually you get the easier work, right? But now LLMs can do a lot of that, but they make mistakes. And the other thing is when you develop code with an LLM, um, there's like the maintenance aspect of it. You don't know if you're just like hoping that it codes everything correctly. You never have to go back and fix it, where you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So I think you're going to have to really dig into like the craft of programming, so that way when there are problems, you can handle it. And I'm
Mhm.
not sure that makes sense. That's why I
Yeah,
think you have to be passionate about it because you're going to have to really dig into things. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm going to vibe code and it's going to make up something and then I'm good," right? I think at some point there's going to be a lot of technical debt and problems, and then all of a sudden you're going to see management saying, "We need someone who really knows the code,"
hmm.
and that's
Why
when they're
is it
going to be,
breaking?
"Why is it breaking?"
Yeah,
So yeah, I think the jobs will still be there. It just will be different.
yeah, yeah. I agree with all of that. Like, I know you've dabbled with, using AI to do some programming. I've done it as well. And the thing is, both you and I, we have, a lot of experience with development. And even when I do a language I'm not doing every day and I use AI, as soon as I kind of start off, I can immediately tell, like, okay, this looks like a good start. Or I can see, like, now that doesn't look very efficient. I mean, will it get the job done? Yeah. Is it scalable? No, that's not gonna scale.
Hmm.
But we have that experience, and we can tell that. And I think that's going to be the key. Like you kind of touched on that with you need to be passionate. if you still want to get this degree, I think, you still need to have the skill set. You need to like to write code. You need to live in that world so that way when you do use AI, it's helping you and not hindering, what you're creating.
Hmm. I would think, and I don't know, I can't exactly predict the future, but knowing when to use AI or an LLM to help with coding will help future developers. Um, but they are going to need to push themselves to try to keep using their brain to like strengthen that part of their mind. And I think about like whenever uh, I remember like Google Maps or MapQuest when I was on my phone
Mm.
back in the day. I was pretty good at like finding my way around any place. I've traveled to different cities. I've traveled within cities, and I would always like maybe look at a map, a paper map. What was it, like Rand McNally or something like that? Like I'm dating
Yeah.
myself, right? Look at
MapQuest.
it, yeah, or MapQuest, yeah, even that, and just look at it before, and then go on the road and just trust I can find my way there.
Yeah.
And whenever they started having the apps in the phone with the GPS, I remember thinking, I don't want to get used to this because it's too easy to turn my brain off, and
Yeah.
maybe in the future I'll be not as good as at navigating. And I can tell you today, I'm not as good at navigating because I'm so used to bringing up my phone, just type in the address. I do it now for different reasons because it tells you like if there's like construction, take a different path, or if there's police on the road. But I can just tell you like that part of my mind isn't as strong as it used to be. And
Hmm.
I think that could be the same thing with programmers. Like if they just trust the AI to do a lot of the heavy lifting, they're gonna have a tougher time. They're gonna need to like what you said, dig into the code.
Yeah. Or when we were kids, we had to memorize our phone numbers, for our house, all our friends. If you ask me now what your phone number is, I have no idea what it is, Jonathan.
Nope.
And that's what you hit it right on the head there. That's what's going to happen if people overuse and over depend on AI. They're going to start losing that skill set if they're coders.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up the telephone thing because I was just telling when we were driving back from Texas A&M with my son. Of course, I got nostalgic, so I'm telling all these stories. And when we were driving back to San Antonio, I had told him like, "Oh, I used to drive to Austin pretty often for weekends and stuff, you know." And he said, "Man, like, you used to drive to Austin almost every weekend when I went to A&M." And he goes, "This is a long drive to be making like back and forth, like 3 hours each way or whatever it is." And I said, "Yeah, yeah, it's I mean, it's 3 hours to San Antonio. I'm sure I don't remember the amount, but it's probably about the same to Austin." And I told him like, and I didn't have a cell phone back then. And I said, I know, I could remember at least twice that my car broke down, and I remember carrying quarters in case my car broke down to call someone. And I said, I gave a story about how one time I broke down in the middle of the night, and you probably remember this night.
Oh yeah.
And I got so lucky because I remember I was just driving, and there's like nothing. It's pitch black. My car just shuts off, and then I'm like coasting down a hill, and I see this little tiny like street lamp or something at a convenience store, but it's closed. And I just like no power. I'm just coasting, because I'm in neutral, in my stick shift, and I like barely glide into a parking space and stop. And there's like one payphone there, and I had to remember I knew I had to call you to
Yeah,
pick
yeah.
me up.
At the
Uh,
dorm. Yeah.
the dorm, so I knew the number to our dorm room. I knew the number to my mom because I had to call my mom, like, "Mom, someone has to pick up my car."
Yeah.
But today, yeah, if someone said, "Hey, do you need to call your mom? Do you need to call your friend? Whatever." No, I don't know don't know
Yeah.
their number.
Yeah. And I think that's what's going to separate, right? The the good developers, whatever that new developer skill set is, from the mediocre ones. You know, gonna have to do it. And I would throw in, I think there's one more element to what people are gonna need going forward, and it's like creativity, where it's like you're gonna have to like bridge the coding world with AI. And in order to kind of do that, I don't know, I feel like there's like you have to like almost take a level above and view things at a higher level when you're like, okay, how can I really use AI um, to get this job accomplished, whatever the business requirements are. And so it's not so much of like, all right, just write code. You almost have to think maybe at an architecture level.
Hmm.
But I think there's a different aspect to that. So, I mean, long story short, even though it sounds scary and there's all these headlines and, you know, who knows, we could be wrong, maybe we're right. I think I would still like get that degree. Um, I don't know. It's a leap of faith. I mean, I'm sure at some point AI is going to be so great that it'll be able to do everything with just some prompts or, you know, someone kind of steering it in one direction or another. But I don't think that's going to happen, you know, in the next, you know, 5, 10 years. I mean, that sounds pretty far out there for some AI system to be able to be perfect and not create some kind of problem.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not. This isn't exactly the same, but in that article, the Atlantic article, which I'll put the link at the in the at the bottom of the video in the details. But one of the data points it had was it said that from 2005 to 2023, which is a pretty big span, right? It's kind of like after we graduated, started working, that the computer science majors in the United States quadrupled. So that was how many people were graduating um, and going into that field of study, right? Versus right now, um, like they had some examples like the computer science majors in Princeton, it's like 25% smaller. It will be they're anticipating being 25% smaller in 2 years than it is like even today. It's already declining. People
Hmm.
are less likely to go into computer science, mainly for I think the reasons of, well, they think it's from the reasons of being worried. But speaking of that range, 2005 to 2023, where things were quadrupling, I remember, um, you know, being in college and learning, to do HTML code. Like I took a class. It's like, here's how you do HTML. You type you know, the open bracket, the whatever less than, and you type like, the head and close it. And you have body, close, whatever, like all these different tags. And I thought, wow, this is pretty cool, right? And um, around that time, a lot of people were doing jobs, before the .com bubble burst. And I remember when it did burst, a lot of people said, "Oh, there's no jobs anymore. It's hard to find a job." And some people were saying, "Well, it's because a lot of those people that consider themselves coders, that were doing like HTML, which wasn't like technically, I mean, it's a type of it's markup, right? But it's not like the same level as coding, like
Hmm.
Java or C or whatever. That those people kind of got, I guess, I don't know what the word is, like cold, I guess. So they're no longer, I guess, needed because they were developing other systems like Dreamweaver. These are some tools,
Hmm.
Microsoft Front Page. So now you didn't have to even know HTML. So then it felt like, oh, what a waste of learning about HTML when all these tools will do it for you. But I don't know. I fast forward to today, and I know AI can develop HTML, but I still think I see people hand coding HTML because those tools back then they generated the HTML very quickly, but you still had to go in and fix stuff. It wasn't
Hmm.
perfect, and I feel like the same thing with AI. I just did some vibe coding the other day. I showed you some stuff I was working on, and it never got to be exactly how I wanted it. I still had to go in there and edit stuff because it just wasn't like you could spend all this time prompting to try to get to where you want, or you could just be like, well, it's close enough. I'll take it from here.
Yep.
And I think that's to your point. I think that's why I think it'll still be computer science will still be a good major to go into. Um, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Plus, computer science majors, there's a lot, right? It's not just coding. It's not just like there's like there's game development, there's web development, there's AI, there's data analytics, there's security, there's still a lot of majors in that realm that I think would be very important in the future.
Hmm. And there's still the hard part of talking to a person, getting them to explain, I want to build X, Y, and Z, making sure you really understand what X, Y, and Z really means, because their X, Y, and Z may mean A, B, C to you,
Mm-hmm.
and then taking that and actually building it. That's probably the hardest part of everything that we're talking about right now, right? It's like, and even though AI and ChatGPT and all that stuff, it's very approachable. There's still large amounts of people that aren't quite comfortable with it, or they don't know how to really take advantage of the capabilities. And I'm not even talking about just ChatGPT, right? I'm talking about like the API calls and, again, right, kind of the plumbing of using AI in different areas.
Mm-hmm.
That is still a very foreign concept to most people. You kind of have
Mm-hmm.
to be technically inclined to take this generic idea and be able to draw out, like, okay, now I know how to get there. Um, and so I just, maybe it's not, you're not going to be slinging code and drinking Mountain Dews and Surge and Code Reds and all that, until midnight. I think that world maybe is changing. It's not so much that, it's a little bit of this morphed um, skill set of some coding, some AI, and just marrying the two to get what the end user wants.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure everyone will adapt and figure things out, but at least as of now, I feel like AI so far is really good with prototyping, you know, for in the coding sense anyway, right? It's got uses outside of development, but um, in the past, you'd have to like you want to prototype something, you might have to sit there and get all the boilerplate code, put together, or maybe have to download a framework and use the framework and then start coding things and then say, well, does this idea even make sense? At least now you can, try to prompt out a very, very rough prototype, I think, of what you're trying to do. And again, if you know how to code, you can take that to the next level. But so far, I don't know if you can do everything like, I don't think you can just completely prompt and get like, I would say production ready app. I know you can do apps because I've seen people on YouTube do it and everything else, right? I know it's possible, but is it production ready? Is it going to handle, is it going to be scalable?
Hmm.
All that type of stuff. That's, again, you're going to have to know how to go in there and make those changes.
Yeah.
So,
I did run across an article. It was on Fortune, and it was about how Microsoft highlighted the roles that are going to be the most affected and the least affected as far as their prediction.
oh,
So, if you don't want to go the computer science route, here's what Microsoft suggested. Number one, dredge operator. Don't ask me what that is. I don't know what it is. Number two, bridge and lock tenders, water treatment plant system operators, pile driver operators. I don't know. Floor sanders. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of interesting. Their number one most affected occupation that they're predicting is interpreters and translators. Number two is historians. So, actually,
mm,
looking at their list, computer, I didn't see the first computer related item. Well, I guess you can count 29, which was data scientists, and then 33 web developers.
oh, so there's something in there.
Yeah,
Hmm,
as far as being most affected.
most affected.
Yep.
I still think it's, I don't know. I'll just go back to again. I know it's not the same. We're in a completely different world, and nobody knows what AI is going to do next year versus 10 years from now. I think that's some of the worry. There's uncertainty, like
Mhm.
how fast we're going to progress. So, right, you and I are having this conversation from information we know today. 2 years from now, maybe something will change. But I still am using history as a to give me some context for now, which is, there's always been tools we develop. AI to me is just another tool. And there's been tools that make developing things faster. Like I'll just use the WYSIWYG web development tools of the past. And
Hmm.
everyone was like, well, we'll no longer need web developers, but that's not true. Even today, we still have people. But what happens is the web development, it's not your only job. Now, like you have to be like a full stack engineer,
Hmm.
you know? So the work didn't really go away. You just got like, you just wasn't full time work. And I think it's, again, same thing. Like you're going to have to know a lot more, you have to dig into it. Um, so I still think there's a bright future for those who are, again, are passionate about it. But if you're going to go into it thinking, oh, I'm going to be, uh, whatever, I'm just going to be a small talk developer for like 60 years, right?
Hmm.
I don't think that's not going to fly anymore.
Hmm. Yeah, you have to really be adaptable. And honestly, I think what you said at the beginning was that's probably the North Star. It's like you gotta don't go into it for the money, you know, because if you're not passionate about it, then it's I don't think it's gonna work out. So I think in itself, just the way things will play out, the people that are passionate about it, they're gonna stick with it, which means the talent pool won't be as large. But then again, there may not be a need for as many developers and IT related positions because of AI. So hopefully, just things kind of balance out on it, based off of how things are playing out.
Yeah. And one of the things I would also say to people who are, in my opinion, but if you're are passionate about computer science, still want to go into it, I would say maybe something else to consider is like either a minor or like or try to just practice on the side. I would say is like some sort of like communication skills. Programmers we're always notorious for being like I don't know, shy or reclusive. Just give me my Mountain Dew, like you said, and then I'll just sit in this dark room and code away all day. I don't want to talk to people.
Hmm.
And then you had business analysts, right? My job is I take the requirements from the customer to the programmer. Just like that movie,
Office
Office Space.
space, yeah.
Yeah, but you'd said something. You said that like when we work in these projects, the hard part isn't even doing the development. If we like an example of how we do work, right? If we do our discovery phase and we talk to our client and all the stakeholders, right? You got to bring in, like at least for our projects, you got to bring in some from marketing, some from sales, some from IT, and then sometimes you got to bring in the C-level execs, right? And then all these people, they still don't know, so they have to then bring in some SMEs for the subject matter experts, right, for the different areas of the business.
Hmm.
And you have to like, and when you're talking to people, a lot of times, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing at these companies, and you have to sit there and pull everything together. And a lot of times there's a reason it's called discovery is also because they themselves, the customer will discover, oh, is that how we do things? Oh, I didn't realize we did it that way or whatever, right? I have a, I don't know. It just seems like that part is going to be really difficult for AI just to pull that out. I mean, you just want to sit there and prompt and chat. I mean, I guess it's possible. I know people are working on there's. I think there's a Y Combinator startup trying to work on this too, but automating that piece. But I don't know. When you get that part down, coding everything's actually like the quote easier part.
Hmm. Yeah, when you know what you're actually going to build, but getting there, that's a skill set in itself.
Hmm. It's kind of like what Steve Jobs, I think it was Steve Jobs, said. Like a lot of times people don't know what they want until they see it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like I don't know what I want, and they finally see something. Yeah, that's something right there.
Hmm. I want that.
So think about that, right? You go up to a prompt and you're like, "Hey, ChatGPT, I don't know what I want. Maybe you'll show me." Like that. That's not going to be helpful.
Good luck.
Good luck. Yeah. Well, no, that was a great conversation we had. You know, uh, I know there's a lot of uncertainty out there, and with like the job market, even now, people are, not sure what to think about the future. But I think, overall, both you and I kind of agree that, if you're going to computer science, if you're passionate about it, I would encourage you to continue down that path. I still think there's a lot of opportunities, in that field, and computers aren't going away, and I think there'll still be a place for that field there. So yeah, I just want to have thank everyone for watching today, and please remember to like and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching.
Till next time.